All right. Hello, hello. Hey, Callum. Yeah, it is a shame, Callum, but unfortunately, I really don't have, you know, any visibility as how they're addressing it, and it didn't seem like the audience was really receptive to anything that was being said. So I didn't really want to push it, and just to be interrupted throughout the entire session. Okay, so we'll make this a market trader session and offer those who are subscribed to me and who are interested in the content I have to provide, and we'll make this kind of a YouTube session. Okay, so I do not want to broadcast this all too much in Top Step or Discord servers, so we'll just let the YouTube process funnel to all my subscribers, and they can decide whether they want to come. But I did want to go ahead and begin share my screen here and kind of talk through kind of the opportunities that presented themselves in the market. Okay, I did take an opportunity today and wanted to talk about it. But so let's go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully, you guys can see my screen. All right, so let's see if I can replay this back, and we're going to talk this. Start new. Gotta take this back here. Okay, awesome. Okay, all right. We'll maybe give folks here maybe a couple of minutes to see if they see this message, and we'll go ahead and get started. But we are going to talk about a trade that I did take in the crude oil today. I don't know how many folks actually caught me on Top Step TV today, but we talked about it in Top Step TV, and I think Hogue and Coach Jay. I'm not sure about Coach Jay, but I think they jumped on and onto a short opportunity as a result of some of the comments that were being made, right? So, but we'll give folks here a couple of minutes. We'll start 15 minutes past the hour and kind of talk through the one trade that I did take in the market, and I haven't taken a trade in crude oil in some time. So yeah, so wanted to talk about that a little bit, kind of what led me to the trade and that kind of thing. Okay. So we'll give folks here about 3 more minutes. We'll get started. Hopefully everybody had a relatively good session. I know that a number of you were impacted by the issue with the Top Step platform, but I'm not here to kind of belabor that. I know that they're working very, very hard to address that. So so all right. Let's see. Let's go ahead and start the process here. Okay. So as you guys know, I do a fair amount of trading using initial balance. And if you recall, we in our conversation today, I had mentioned I was kind of actually quite interested. Okay, little issue logging on until 30 minutes after the open, and even after that, I didn't take anything. Okay, Callum, no issues, no worries. Okay, so what really kind of I guess gravitated or allowed me to kind of really focus in on crude oil today is the fact that we were working a candle outside a daily range, right? So you can see that we got a right. This is kind of our daily level here. We're going to go ahead and mark that in green, okay? And you can see historically that level has held, right? This was not the first. This is not the first time that price had come to this level. Okay. And anytime the market breaks something like a daily level, and it's able to sustain it, that is something to make note of. Okay. Because that is not done without a fair number of with a fair amount of participation, right? Daily levels are not levels that are easily broken. Okay. So so in any case, this morning in during the top step call, or opening bell, I noticed that we were developing a candle that was breaking this range. Okay. And we took a look at we didn't really take a look at the 4-hour, but I will take a look at the 4-hour with you guys. And you can see, right, that the market, turn off initial balance here for a moment. You can see that the market has a lot of shorts in the market, right? And we've been in this kind of since Sunday, right? Since the Sunday open of the London market, we've been in this bearish channel to the downside, and to some degree, we accelerated our move recently, right? We accelerated our move here recently, right? These two most recent candles, you can see that we picked up a little bit of momentum in that direction. Okay. So again, another bit of evidence that the market was somewhat bearish. Okay. So now, kind of leading into the 30-minute candle, actually I'm going to drop it down to a 15-minute, kind of work our way toward the initial balance. Okay. And as you guys know, I do a fair amount of initial balance trading. We're going to go ahead and turn off the channel here now. Okay. And we're just going to kind of walk through this trade. And in some cases, this wasn't quite the I would say, call it an initial balance extension trade, but more of maybe you can think of it more of as an ORB trade. Okay. But let's go ahead and walk through this. Okay, so there's our average session ranges, and we'll go ahead and play through this here. Okay, and we'll go ahead and open up the initial balance because we got 2 minutes, two candles worth of the initial balance range, right? Now, at this point, I was thinking bearish. One of the last comments I had made before I left the Top Step TV this morning, I had made the comment that I would be willing to sell strength, okay, in this market, right? Now, ideally, when I say sell strength, I'm looking at things like the 9 EMA, right? The 9 EMA, that's certainly an area. VWAP is also another area, right? Basically, I was looking for opportunities if price were to come to that level that I would be willing to participate to the downside because of the fact that we were breaking structure on the daily level to the downside. Okay, but that wasn't necessarily in the cards here. So, but I was let's go ahead and drop down to my 2-minute chart here at this point. And I was kind of looking for some evidence that the market was going to head lower. Okay. I wanted to be maybe a little bit more aggressive than I have in the past, because I did know that there is maybe some support here. Haven't used this in some time, but I think you guys know what this is. This is the average session range, right? It's a statistical range, right? And I use that level as kind of a target, right? So as you can see here, we developed a couple of candles here that would indicate that maybe some sellers kind of stepped into this market. And again, still using channels. Again, normally I wouldn't initiate a trade. Yeah, that's an indicator, not an indicator. This is a proprietary indicator. This is an indicator that I've developed for myself, Everett. Okay, but there's a similar indicator, ADR levels, that offer similar levels. Okay, so let's turn that on here. Okay, so you can see. Let's see, where is it? 57.35, 56.01, 57.35. That's way up there, is it? ADR. Okay. All right. All right. In any case, it doesn't seem like it. So in any case, there's a free indicator, but it's based on the day, not on the session. Okay. So in any case, I seem to have lost my initial balance. Let's see if I can bring that back. Okay, there it is. Okay, so you can see here I drew my channel, right? There's my channel. And basically I was looking for an event that was aligned with the direction of the trade. I was kind of somewhat bearish on the market. And so let's go ahead and play this forward. Okay, so there it is. We got our a very definitive candle breaking the channel to the downside. Okay, like I said, I wanted to sell strength, but I needed to see evidence of that. And so I got in right around, I think right around the same level as Hogue got in, maybe slightly lower. Okay, so I got in at I think 55, 57 is the close of this candle. Okay, so entry was 55, entry 55, 57. Okay, my stop in this case was basically the on the other side of the initial balance range, right? So somewhere maybe 55, 74, 55, 76, somewhere in that range. Okay. I always now again, I always think risk first, right? I always look at the risk first and then look to see if there's enough profit to be taken, right? I don't look at profit. I always look at second, right? So 55.74 is my stop in this case, 55.74. And my target was the ASR low, right? Average session range low. Now, the only difference between average session range low and like I mentioned, I don't know why this average daily range is not displaying. Let's see if I can maybe modify this to make it a little bit more visible. See if that changed anything. I don't seem to see it today. Oh, it was well above. Okay. All right. So in any case, we got our break, and basically I was using this average session range low as my target. Okay. Now you probably already can arrive, right? You don't necessarily need a tool to arrive at, 55.30 was a reasonable level. And I don't know how many people actually watched me during the Top Step today, but I had mentioned that I thought that the market could get as low as 55, right? That was kind of the next logical place for the market to go. Okay. So in any case, I have my target. I'm going to go ahead and open up my long short tool, and you can see this is, probably, let's see, 55.24. My stop is up above here. So slightly under 2-to-1. Okay. But like I said, my view on this, my view was that this market could get as low as 55. Okay. And if I go with my target, this is kind of maybe intermediate target. I thought minimally it would get to 55.30 and had a possibility of going down to at least 50, maybe even as low as 55. Okay. All right. So I got in at 55.57. Now this wasn't the most, swift of trades. Okay. It kind of labored. All right. Labored quite a bit here. But it managed to continue in my direction here. Okay. So you can see here with the 2-minute candles here, I'm kind of walking you guys through this, right? Our entry was 55.67. Now we're down to 55.46. We're just going to go ahead and play this forward here. So again, we continue our grind, our move to the downside. Let's go ahead and expand these candles here a little bit. Okay, so you guys can see exactly how this transpired. Okay, and then we got the initial balance range was still being established because of the fact that and right about we kind of continued in our move, right? Now we came across the edge here. I don't think I'm trying. I have to look at my notes here. I might actually scaled out of 1 here. I'm not sure, but we got a little bit of reaction here from the initial balance low as we near Okay. And then another follow through candle here. Okay. Still giving us indication that the market still had some pressure to the downside. Okay. Just continue to play this. And there we got our reaction there. So I'm more than likely, once we reach this target, certainly exit out a portion of this. So this is why maybe about 27 ticks or so on I think on a single mini. This was like a single mini trade. I hadn't traded in crude oil in some time. So, but in any case, got out of some here. And then eventually you can see here how it's respecting to some degree this 55.24 level. And then eventually we get down to the 55 level, which I had mentioned earlier, right? There's our 55 level. Okay. So scaled out of some here, right? You could scale, I should say, you could have scaled out of some here. But the opportunity kind of gave us an opportunity all the way down to the 55 level. And then again, you can use the channels here. A break of the 9 EMA would have been my final kind of straw here, right? So we got back to the 9 EMA. There's our 55 level, as I mentioned, and there's our exit, right, at 55.14. Okay. Very, very clear, very, a little bit of pullbacks, but notice again how well the 9 EMA, right? The 9 EMA offered us a nice, kind of set of guardrails to support a very nice downside trade. Okay. From 55.57 all the way down to 55.14 for about, was that 14, about 43 ticks? Is that right? 43 ticks. $430 on a single mini, right? Okay. But again, it's again, the 9 EMA, offers us, a set of confluence here, right? And then we have what does anybody know what this level is? Let me turn off the visible range volume profile. Who can tell me what this level is? What's this red line that I have drawn here? Does anybody know what the red line is? The red line is the 50% extension. Yeah, it's the 50% extension of the initial balance range. Now, like I said, this wasn't an initial balance trade, right? This was a trade that was taken inside initial balance, but the basis of this trade was the result of the daily, making its way down to, no, it's not settlement. Settlement was above, I think. Let's see where settlement is. Settlement 5682. So yeah, settlement was well above. Okay. So yeah, no, this is the 50% extension of the original initial balance range. And you'll notice that after it broke above this 9 EMA, I think it basically went up for the remainder of the day here, right? And you can see how the 9 EMA is kind of serving as an area of support, right? Right? You see how well the 9 EMA is tracking the movement of the price, right? You could even potentially have a strategy using the 9 EMA, right? Because it does a nice job of spotting reversals in price. Okay. So that was pretty much the extent of the only trade that I took in the market. Again, a lot of it was based on the higher time frame indications that the market was looking to head lower. Okay. And we got our, price event aligned with the general direction on the lower time frame. We took the trade and basically allowed the 9 EMA to kind of help us track this trade. Now, maybe this would have caused some to exit. You see how we got a little bit of a reaction away from the average session range low. This is this area in green, okay? And we continue to the downside up until 55, okay? And we hold this trade until we get a break of the 9 EMA in the opposite direction, okay? So that was the extent of the one trade I took in the market today, and I basically closed my doors. There was no need to put in to risk any more capital in the market. Okay. So let's any questions before I move on to some other markets, guys? Any questions on this trade? Now, this wasn't an initial balance extension trade. This was more of I guess you can think of it more of a price action kind of trade based on multi-time frame analysis, right? So if there's any questions, I'm happy to entertain them. But otherwise, we'll just kind of move on to maybe what opportunities presented themselves in other markets. No questions? Can I get a 1 in chat if you guys don't have any questions? So I know to move on. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much the same setup that we talked about in Discord, right? The only thing that's different about this is, so again, if you wanted to look at this more of a kind of a, if you wanted to treat this more as a an ORB trade, right? So if you wanted to treat this more as an ORB trade, then we would go and maybe turn off in the initial balance here for a moment. Hey, Aaron, we would turn off the initial balance range here for a minute, and basically, we can walk you through on how this might have played out as a ORB, opening range breakdown. Okay, so this candle right here, right? This candle would establish the range, right? Hey, Aaron. Right. So this is red. This is my red candle here. Okay, there's my 15-minute range. Okay, and then the next thing that you guys would do in this case would be to drop to a 5-minute, and basically you would enter short on the break below, right? So this would establish the range. We would get our break maybe with this candle here at 55.40. Okay. So if we played it as more of an initial balance, as a ORB, opening range breakdown, then your entry would be at 55.40. Once you get the 5-minute candle to close outside the range, okay, so entry is 55.40, 55.40, and basically you'd hold this trade in one of two ways. Okay, so you could say, okay, I'm willing to hold this trade as long as price remains in my channel, and the moment price breaks through my channel, maybe this candle here or maybe this candle here, either at 55.11 or 55.08, that would cause you to exit the trade, and that would be more of a, you exit the trade here at say 55.11, you'd secure about 29 ticks. Stop would be probably I don't know, it's probably be more of a 1-to-1 trade. Stop would probably need to be placed above 55.63. Okay, stop 55.63. Okay, and that would be more of a 1-to-1 kind of trade. Okay, and that would be more aligned, Everett. Okay, that would be more aligned with what we discussed in the last Discord session. Okay, this would be more of an ORB breakdown trade. Okay, any questions on sort of the mechanics behind this? Right, we wait for a 15-minute range, we wait for a 5-minute candle to close outside the range, right? And then we use, you can either use a channel or use the break, right? Yeah, I use my channel to establish entries and exits, right? So you can see here, right? That would have caused you to potentially enter early, right? And then you exit the trade on the channel break on in the opposite way. And the nice thing about channels is that you're not making the decision, right? You're letting price dictate to you when it's time. That's the nice. It's a very objective way to manage, right? Because sometimes we get a little greedy, right? We say, oh, okay, well, the market's still in my favor. Maybe I'll hold it a little longer. And then what do we end up doing? We end up, giving back our profits, right? We end up giving back our profits when we could have secured a very nice, 30 tick trade, right? So again, the more we can make it objective, the more we can make it away from the profits that we secure in the markets and more about, following the profits, right? Then, if more about process, less about profits, then we are able to book trades like these and then they compound, right? Over time. If I'm able to consistently book, 30 tick trades, yeah, we can't be high on hopium, right? We don't control the market, right? The market is the market, right? And we don't know how the market is going to respond as it approaches certain areas. We don't know anything, right? But as soon as we get some evidence that the market is working against us, it is our job as I don't even like to use the word traders, right? I like to use the word risk managers, right? It is our job as risk managers to exit the trade the moment we get evidence that the trade is not continuing in our favor. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully, to everyone. Put a 1 in chat if that makes sense, and then I'll move on to maybe some other markets. 1 in chat, please. Make sure you guys are still okay. Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here and see what other markets might have offered us some opportunities. Okay, so let's take a look at gold. I think gold was rallying as when we were talking during the Top Step TV, but it kind of ranged for a good amount of time here. So let's close this. Oh, actually, kind of sold off here. Okay. All right. Let's open up the initial balance range and see if there's anything here that would have maybe caused me to execute a trade. So this is probably more of what kind of trade, guys? For those who've known me for some time, what type of trade would be possible here? What did the market fail to do? We got up to the initial balance range. We got up to the initial balance range and we failed to do what? Yeah, it's a failed auction, right? It's a failed auction trade, right? And one of the ways that we recognize a failed auction trade is we get a break above, okay, and we immediately close back inside, right? And notice how aligned the volume was in that case. You guys see how aligned the volume was with price? Right? The volume is very much in line with what a failed auction. So when I trade a failed auction, I want to make sure that volume is aligned with my move, right? Because up until that point, the market was, well, I guess up until that point, the market was kind of rangy, right? And made an attempt to go higher, found some sellers, it reversed. And what area did price hold? Well, price held initial balance high, right? Initial balance high. And where did it rotate? It rotated all the way through the initial balance range. So had you maybe looked at something like, okay, I'll wait for this initial balance range to kind of wait for price to close inside the range. I draw my channel, right? I get my break, right? My entry is at 43.51.50. Okay, is my entry 43.51.50. Okay, and at this point, the initial balance range is already established. I can plan for the market to rotate through the entire range, right? All the way down to 43.26. Okay. Now, if I'm managing this with my 9 EMA, is there anything based on price action that would indicate that I need to exit this trade? Is there anything based on price action, right? Where is price in relation to the 9 EMA? It's below it, right? Price is below it, right? And we could have held this trade, right? We could have held this trade until we get a close, right? Until we get a close above the 9 EMA, right? And that would have made for a very nice trade, right? 43.51 all the way down to 43.37, right? Single mini, this is like over $1,000 trade, right? $1,300, right? Yeah, the initial balance is the high and the low of the first hour of the session, right? And I have an indicator in TradingView that automatically draws that for me. I don't have to manually create it, but it's not impossible to create, right? I have a indicator, a free indicator by CZOA that automatically generates that range for me. Okay, right? Does that make sense? And then I just basically adjust that indicator to include, right? To include just the 1 hour part of the session. Yeah, you can also draw it. It's not a big deal, right? It's not the end of the world. Now, again, this indicator has some additional features where it automatically draws the 50, the 100, and 200% extension of the initial range. That's why I like it, right? Because once that range is, assuming that this was a initial balance breakdown, well, what did the tool offer me? It offered me a set of targets for price to reach, right? Okay. So gold offered us a very nice, I would say, failed auction trade. Okay. Okay. Any questions? Any questions on gold before I move on to the equities? Yeah, you might be able to. You might be able to. You might be able to. You might be able to do that with a fib tool, right? You might be able to take the fib tool, right, and fib retracement tool and adjust those, right? I don't know. There's a possibility. You can experiment with that, right? Okay. Okay. All right. Let's take a quick look at silver since we're in the metals here and see what silver offered. I've been following silver of late, but silver really didn't offer. Actually, this was probably a little bit more rangy, right? Has gold been more thin than late? Aaron, I would say gold has been more rangy of late, right? It's probably moving maybe a little bit more volatile. Okay, probably a little bit more volatile than late, right? And I've been looking more at silver, okay, of late, okay, right? So again, looking at these levels again, we were kind of range bound today, again, similar to gold, right? We were very range bound until the tail end of the session here. And then after the session, we've kind of gone into a little bit of a rally. Okay. Let's take a look and see what the NASDAQ provided today. Again, yeah. So NASDAQ, guys, what do you think? Do you think do you think this kind of price action is my style of trading? Is this the kind of price action I want to be a part of? No, really focuses. It really requires me to focus on the edges of the market. One thing, right? One thing I can say, right? One thing I can say is look how well price respected the ASR low. Do you guys see that? The ASR low, this area in green. Do you see how well price respected the ASR low? Right? And every time it came down to it, it reacted away from it. So again, I often use ASR as a target, but it can be used as an area for potential reversals. You guys follow me? Right? But unless I'm trading range, right? This is not the type of market that I want to be a part of, right? Could I have found a trade here? Yeah. Right? The crude oil and the gold offered us a much better price action, right? We didn't see as much overlapping candles, right? Still a similar kind of trade, but didn't offer us much in the way of these kind of overlapping candles. All right, let's take a look at the ES. I think the ES is probably going to be much of the same, but ES a little bit more in direction. Okay. What do you think I liked about this? This is a little bit more directional. You could probably have traded this. What do you think I might have liked about this market over NASDAQ? Don't you see that it is a little bit more directional? Do you see how price is respecting the 9 and respecting the VWAP? You guys see that? Right? We got a nice break to the downside, a little pullback back to the VWAP, and down we go. Another pullback down we go, right? So ES offered us a couple of opportunities, right? A couple of opportunities to the downside. And then after lunch, yeah, it's a little bit cleaner, right? And then after lunch, what did it offer? It offered us what kind of trade? Similar to what we saw in what was it? Was it gold? Yeah. Similar to gold, but in the opposite direction. Right? Similar to gold, but in the opposite direction. So this is a what? You guys know the term. This is a, well, yeah, not only IB low, right? So what is that gold line? What is that gold line? The yellow line is IB low. The gold line is what? Anybody know what the gold line is? That's settlement price. Right? Yeah, the area in green, that is ASR low. But the area in gold is settlement price. Yeah, and on the way down, it rejected VWAP on the way down. Notice that? Once it got into a trend, you see how well VWAP offered us locations to participate in a downside trade. Okay. And it offered us a reversal at settlement. So, things like IB low, VWAP, 9 EMA, these are all logical locations to look for opportunities, right? I consistently look at these areas to offer me opportunities for trades. Now, I narrow my search, right? I'm so focused on initial balance because statistics tell me that if I get an initial balance extension, it has a 70 to 75% chance of continuing in that direction. Okay, so that's kind of why I follow it so closely. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the Dow. Okay, and see what the Dow offered. I would say even more directional, even cleaner than ES. Do you guys see this clean move that we had to the downside, respecting the 9 EMA along with it, right? Very, very nice directional trade that could have been taken, right, in the YM. You guys see that? Very nice directional trade in the YM today. Okay. More of I would say more of the opening range variety, right? More of the opening range variety. Yeah. I would say it's the best looking one of the equities, right? Best looking one of the equities, right? Very directional trade, right? Right. And again, if we go with our model, right? This being, let's go ahead and replay this back. We'll start new here. Okay. We're just going to wait for this 15-minute candle. We'll turn off the initial balance range and see how we might have been able to play this, right? Using the stay. Okay. Right. So there's our 15-minute candle. So I'm going to draw the range manually, right? High end of the range, low end of the range. Okay. And then I drop to my 5-minute. And what am I waiting for? Well, I'm just waiting for a break, right? And I'm waiting for a break below, right? I'm waiting for a break below. If I had the choice, oh, Callum, that's a hard one. If I had to choose only one, yeah, I mean, each one offers me. I think if I only had to choose one, Callum, probably would be VWAP because I have channels that can support me, right? I could always draw channels when it comes to support. So I would say VWAP. All right, so we're just waiting for that candle to close below our range. Okay. Still no signal. There it is. Okay. So that would be our signal. That would be our signal to enter. Okay, right here. You guys see that? We got a 15-minute range and we got a 5-minute candle. Now, the only thing that might have caused me a little bit of pause is that it's coming into ASR low. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I had to choose between one or the other, let it be VWAP, and then you could always use channels to support you on the management side. Okay, so this would have caused me to enter here at let's say if I was looking right, entry at 48.16, 48.616. Okay. And target in this case would be settlement price, right down here at 48,460. 48,460, right? That's a pretty good move, isn't it? I would say, yeah, minimally. Everett, I would say minimally it would need to be above the candle. Ideally, you would want to place your stop either above the 9 or above VWAP, but that might make for risk reward issues, right? If I go with above the 9 EMA, I have to accept the possibility of getting stopped out and still being right on the trade, right? Does that make sense? Right? So now if I use my long short tool, okay, so my entries here, my target is settlement, and my stop, let's say, is above this candle, then that makes for a nice 2-to-1 risk reward, right? I'm risking 1 to make 2. You guys follow what I'm saying? Right? Let's see how this plays out. Okay, didn't take much effort here. It tested this a couple of times. It might be difficult to actually sit through this. Actually, might even got stopped out here, pretty close. Notice, notice, guys. What did price do here? Did it not get above this candle? Do you understand why I'm not a fan of placing stops above candles? Do you guys see that? Now, yeah, it played with your emotions. Now, so Everett, the fact that price came up and never closed above my candle, does that invalidate the trade? Does that validate my trade? When is this trade invalid? When is this trade invalid? No, not necessarily. Correct. I would say this trade would be invalid if we get a close above VWAP, right? Because that is a change in sentiment, right? We did get a close above our 9 EMA. That's the first indication. But I would say that the second indication would be a close above VWAP. And notice, did price ever close above VWAP? It came up to VWAP. It actually gave us a better location to support this trade, right? What would the risk reward have been if you put the stop? It would have been like a 1-to-1 trade. It would have been like a 1-to-1 trade. Probably not a trade you would be able to take. It was more like 1-to-1. Probably not a trade you could take. But had you been patient, Everett, and said, you know what? I'm not going to chase price. Okay? I'm not going to chase price down. I'm going to be the lazy lion and hang out around VWAP and look for an entry there. Had I done that, and am I not reducing my risk? Right? But I needed to be patient. What's the natural thing for people to do? Right? When they see price move, what's the natural thing for people to do? Yeah, press the button and enter the trade, right? How many people see a move happen and say, you know what? I'm going to wait for a pullback. How many times do you say that to yourself? Probably not often enough, right? So the best move would have been to wait for price to come back and then participate in an entry, right? On a level that would allow us to manage our risk. Now, right? Stop above VWAP, and then we can play it all the way down. Look how nice that move was, right? Just by waiting, just by being patient, right? What do they say? What's the saying? People are rewarded for those who wait. Well, I said you're rewarded if you wait. I'm messing up that phrase, right? But I think you guys understand what I'm saying, right? Patience, yeah. Patience, not a virtue. It's more like patience is rewarded, right? Your patience is rewarded. Okay. You would have been better served in waiting for the, but the thing is that could have caused you to miss the trade entirely. Right? Yeah, no worries, Marie. Yeah, I decided to to do this from the channel instead of Discord, and still give you guys the same. Okay. All right. Any other markets, guys? We've gone through. Yeah, way less distractions, no doubt. And I get it. I get it, Marie. I mean, I understand that people are frustrated, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to help, right? So, and I didn't necessarily want it to detract from what we're trying to accomplish. So, any other markets that people are, so Marie, we've gone through crude oil, we've gone through gold, we've gone through somewhat silver and all the equity markets, and we were just kind of looking at the Dow here. Any other markets here, guys? We are coming up on the top of the hour here, and this is normally my kind of bewitching time where I skedaddle up to secure some dinner. Any other last minute markets that you want me to take a look at? Yeah, it's going to be available, Marie, on my channel. It's automatically recorded. So if you go under my channel, this is automatically recorded. No need to post anything. Yeah, no worries, Everett. If you're not already a subscriber, it sounds like you are. Guys, if you enjoyed this session, give me a like or two. Our likes are less than the folks that we have in the room, so I would love to see our likes at least on par with the number of people that are here. And then Everett, if you would be so kind to leave me a comment or two on the channel on how this analysis has supported you in your understanding of the markets and how you maybe can benefit from it going forward. Right? All good. Okay. All right, guys. Tomorrow, let's see. Tomorrow we will be back here at our normal time in pre-market. So I do offer a pre-market review at 8:30 Eastern time. Okay. So you're more than welcome to come for that. And let's see. And then the day after that, I will be back on back on Top Step TV, supporting the opening bell. Okay, so I'll be there with Coach Jay and Coach Hogue, trying to provide you guys a little bit of context in the markets and see how we can maybe help spot some trades. Okay. All right, guys. Looks like we got a little bit of a surge of people. Yeah. Please pay your like tax. Right. If you've benefited from these sessions, definitely hit the like. If you're not already a subscriber, hit the subscribe button. And that's pretty much what I have. So we'll go ahead and close this session as I close most market trader sessions, and that is trade well, trade safe, trade like a pro, be a market trader. Have an excellent evening, guys, and we'll be back at this tomorrow.